right. So we did life in Makkah. We have completed 13 years of life in Makkah, where we studied different subtopics, where we did how Nabi Kareem was raised, and then how he led his life before receiving prophethood. Then we did right after receiving the first revelation, how did he preach? Then how Islam propagated during the first 13 years, right after receiving the revelation. So it was a very tough time where Nabi Kareem received humiliation. He was mocked down. His own tribe, people of Quraysh, who are his own family members, they used to make fun of Nabi Kareem, and they were not supportive. They were not accepted for Islam. Then eventually, Allah Ta'ala, Allah Ta'ala led him to the journey of Isra Miraj just to provide him comfort because he had lost two of his supports. He lost Abu Talib, then he lost Sayyidina Khatija, Razila Ta'ala Anhu, and he called that year Amul Huzn. So it was a year of grief, and Allah Ta'ala comforted him. And then there was this event of Taif where people of Taif were also not accepted for Islam. So eventually, people of Yasra, they were soft-hearted. They came to Nabi Kareem. They were looking for a strong leader in Madinah Tayyibah, and the previous name of Madinah Tayyibah was Yasrab. So they were looking for a very strong leader who could like lead him in a peaceful manner, as there were two tribes that were living in Yasrab, Aus and Khazraj, and they were at war with each other, that who should be the leader. So eventually, the Jews of Medina Tayyibah were also accepted for Nabi Kareem because they had this idea that some last messenger will come from from their own nation. So this is why Nabi Kareem eventually decided to migrate. And before that, he was given this hint by Allah Subhanahu wa Taala that people of Makkah were planning to kill Nabi Kareem. So that night was the night when Nabi Karim decided to migrate to Yasrib along with Hazrat Abu Bakr, and they stayed in Cave of Sor, and eventually they reached to Medina. And from here, now we are going to begin another 10 years, which Nabi Karim lived in Medina Tayyibah, or he lived in Yasrib. Okay, so Yasrib is the previous name of Medina. So let's begin, inshallah. All right. So since I've just mentioned that we are now going to cover 10 years, we have already covered 13 years. Now we are going to cover another 10 years of Nabi Kareem. And in the first year of Hijrat, so Hijrat means migration. So in the first year of migration, Nabi Kareem led these initiatives in which Mosque of Prophet was built, Azan was introduced, then Muhajirin were those people who migrated from Makkah to Yasrib. So settlement of Muhajirin, then Charter of Medina, and then how Nabi Karim dealt with hypocrites. So we are going to study these things under first year of Hijrat. Okay. So Mosque of Prophet. Prophet built a mosque at Medina, which became the learning center of Islam and established itself as political and military headquarters. The Muslim Ummah learned discipline, unity, and the concept of brotherhood. The land of mosque was brought from two orphans, and the construction was completed by Nabi Karim and his companions. Quran says there is a mosque whose foundation was laid from the first day of piety. It is more worthy of the standing forth for prayer therein. In it are men who love to be purified, and Allah loves those who make themselves pure. The wall of mosque were built, they were made from unbaked bricks. The roof was of mud and date palms. Leaves and pillars were made up of trunks of date palm trees. Masjid-e-Nabawi was a shelter of poor Muslims and immigrants of Makkah. So we have studied how Quraysh persecuted Nabi Karim. So there was no concept of mosque in Makkah Mukarramah because those people were very what do I say? They were against Nabi Karim. They were against the Muslim Ummah. So they did not had this chance of studying Deen under one roof, or they did not have this mosque, or they did not have this place where Islam could be taught properly. Islam could be taught in with discipline and with unity and with the concept of brotherhood. So eventually, right after migrating to Medina Tayyaba, a mosque was built, which is known as Masjid Nabi. This was the mosque where Nabi Karim taught Islam to the young Muslim Ummah, and the land of that mosque was purchased from two orphans, and Nabi Karim himself took part in constructing this mosque. So eventually, this became a political and military headquarters for the young Muslim Ummah. Then Azan, it was suggested to have Azan call for prayer by Hazrat Umar. As the Muslim population grew, Hazrat Bilal was the first Muazzin of Islam. So like I said, that Makkah was not very accepted for Islam or for Muslims. So there was no concept of Azan prior to life in Medina. So eventually, when the Muslim population grew in Medina Tayyibah, it was hard to keep a track of time, that when is the time for a certain prayer coming up. So it was suggested by Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu to have a particular azan, to have particular wordings which could indicate the timings of prayer. And eventually, Hazrat Bilal was the first Muazzin of Islam. So Muazzin is a person who gives azan. Okay. Then settlements of Muhajirin, that now that eventually people came from Makkah, the Muslims came from Makkah, so they were termed as Muhajirin, and they needed some place to live in Madinah Tayyibah. And those who migrated from Makkah Mukarramah, they were known as Muhajirin, and those who were already the residents of Madinah Tayyibah, they were known as Ansars. Because it's also written here that those who were living in Medina are known as Ansars, and those who came from Makkah are known as Muhajirin. So after migration, Holy Prophet established um, brotherhood between these groups meaning Muhajirin and Ansars. He mentioned that Muhajirin needed help, so Ansars took their Muhajirin brothers to their houses and shared their possessions with them. Quran says those who believed and adopted exile and fought for the faith with their property and their persons in the cause of Allah, as well as those who gave them asylum and aid, these are all friends and protectors of one another. So the concept of brotherhood was being established in Madinah Tayyibah, that each Ansar was responsible to take a Muhajir with him into his house, and they shared the belongings. And eventually, like, this was the first stage where brotherhood was established between Muslims, between Muhajirin and Ansars in particular, because Muhajirin did not have anything, they left everything behind while they were migrating to Madinah Tayyibah. So eventually, Ansars took great care of them, and you need to remember this reference because it's a very beautiful reference. The people who fought for the faith with their property and their persons in the cause of Allah, they are friends and they're protectors of one another. So this is a very beloved action to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we need to fight for our faith. We need to fight for our faith with whatever we have, with our property, with in whatever capacity we can fight for the betterment of faith. We should do so, and we should be mindful of the necessities of our Muslim brothers, that if they are in need, then we should facilitate them if we can. All right, so that's a very beautiful reference if we ponder upon this, that we are the friends and we are the protectors of one another. So then Charter of Medina was established in the first year of Hijrat, that there were three main tribes of Jews. So this is a very political aspect that you need to remember in Charter of Medina, that in Medina Tayyibah, there were already three tribes of Jews in nearby areas of Medina, and that were Banu Kanuka, Banu Nazir, and Banu Qurayza. So these three tribes were of Jews. Holy Prophet, after settling in Medina, called Muslims and Jews for friendly relations in order to ensure safety of Medina. Since Nabi Karim was made the leader of Medina Tayyibah, he needed to make this pact, he needed to make this charter in order to ensure that Medina was safe from the enemies. And more, if we go into particular details, then Medina should be kept safe from the Quraysh of Makkah, because they were the biggest enemies of Nabi Karim and Muslims. So Nabi Karim established this charter between Jews and Muslims of Medina, that you need to maintain friendly relationships, and that you need to protect Medina in case of any attack. So it was also designed to ensure equal rights, protection of life, property, and liberty of faith to Jews. So Jews were not forced to accept Islam. They were given proper liberty of faith, and they were ensured that they will be given equal rights, they will be protected, and their properties will be protected, and they'll practice their faith with complete freedom. It was also mentioned that Jews and Muslims would remain allies, meaning that they would remain friends and help one another. And in case of attack on Medina, both Muslims and Jews would defend. This charter made by Prophet as the leader and head of state of Medina. So why was it made? Because Nabi Karim was made the leader of Medina Tayyibah, so he needed to ensure the safety of Medina Tayyibah, and that we have already established the fact that there are three tribes of Jews that were living in Medina Tayyibah at that time. And you need to remember all three of them, because eventually we'll study their details and how they broke this charter. So eventually in the upcoming years, we'll come to know that how all of these three tribes will betray the Muslims, and that they were promised that you can practice your own faith, but you need to remain friends with Muslims since you are living in Medina, since you are sharing the same land. You need to remain loyal to Muslims. But this is how Jews are. They're never loyal to Muslims, and this is a very eye-opening thing for us as well, that Jews can never be our friends. So we need to be mindful of the fact that we do not consider them as our friends, because they have this nature of betraying Muslims in particular, and they have this cunning nature, as you can see what exactly is happening in Gaza, that how Jews have remained against Muslims throughout the Islamic history. Okay. Then the hypocrites. So Muslim people of Medina did accept Islam, but some did not. They are termed as hypocrites, because hypocrites literally means that they were two-faced. Apparently, they mentioned that they have accepted Islam, but deep down inside their heart, they did not accept Islam. And Quran says, when it is said to them, "Come to what Allah has revealed and to the Messenger," those sees the hypocrites avert their faces from thee in disgust. These hypocrites at face pretended to be Muslims. Like I said, that they were two-faced. They on face, they said that we are Muslims, but on the other hand, their hearts were filled with hatred and wanted to cause harm to Muslims in every possible way. So they had this leader, Abdullah bin Ubay. He was a potential king of Medina Tayyibah before the migration of Prophet. And after Prophet, he was deprived of that position, but he had influence over those who had hatred for Muslims. Abdullah bin Ubay had a mosque outside Medina where they plotted against Muslims. So Allah revealed verses calling this mosque a house of conspiracy. And upon the orders of Prophet, this mosque was demolished. Abdullah died after Tabuk expedition. So the leader of hypocrites was Abdullah bin Ubay. And before Nabi Karim, he was the potential leader of Medina Tayyibah, but people of Medina wanted Nabi Karim to be the leader of Medina Tayyibah, and this is why they asked him to migrate to Medina. So eventually, when he was not given that position, his heart began to grow in jealousy and hatred towards the Muslims. And since he was a powerful person in Medina Tayyibah, he had certain influence over the people of Medina. So eventually, he used to plot against Muslims, and he and all those hypocrites who accepted Islam at first sight, but they had this evil intention against Muslims. So they wanted to cause harm to Muslims of Medina. And eventually, Allah Ta'ala revealed that they are hypocrites and that they are plotting against Muslims outside Medina in a mosque. So eventually, that mosque was demolished. Then moving towards second year of Hijrat. So in first year of Hijrat, we have covered Charter of Medina, we have covered settlement of Muhajirin, we have covered introduction of Azan, building of mosque, and how hypocrites used to plan and plot against Muslims. So in Makkah, Prophet had to deal with open enemies. In Medina Tayyibah, he had to deal with hypocrites um, who were more dangerous than Quraysh, because Quraysh openly mentioned that they were the enemies of Islam. While hypocrites, they at first sight they were pretending that they had accepted Islam. They pretended that they are the friends of Muslims, but deep down they were plotting and planning against Muslims. So hypocrites are someone Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like, and they'll face severe punishment on Yawmul Qiyamah. because obviously they were betraying Muslims, and this is how there was a paradigm shift in the Islamic history, that in the first 13 years of prophethood, Nabi Karim dealt with open enemies, and after 13 years, he dealt with enemies who secretly planned and plot against Muslims. So in second year of Hijrat, some rules and commandments came in, which included fasting, zakat, change of qibla. Then a battle took place, and then this Banu Kanuka, the tribe of Jews, they betrayed Muslims. So eventually they were removed from Madinah Tayyibah. So now starting off with fasting and zakat, these are the two pillars of Islam that were made obligatory on Muslims in second year of Hijrat, while zakat was made obligatory upon all the rich Muslims. So fasting is something which is obligatory on all the Muslims, while zakat is something, it's a pillar which is only obligatory on rich Muslims. So Quran says about fasting, you need to remember these references. Quran says about fasting, O you who believe, fasting is prescribed to you as it was prescribed to those before you, so you may learn self-restraint. Quran about zakat says, and spend of your substance in the cause of Allah, do good for Allah, love those who do good. So you need to remember these references, that how they were made obligatory in second year of Hijrat, because now that Islam started to grow, and now that Islam was finding stability in the land of Madinah Tayyibah, now more rules came in. During the life in Makkah, Allah Ta'ala was just focusing on the part which was haram, which was not halal, and Allah Ta'ala more often focused on Tawheed. But in the years when Nabi Kareem lived in Medina and Islam got stable, the rules and the commandments came in. Okay, so you need to learn this primary difference, that Tawheed was the most important most important part in life in Mecca, while commandments are more important and they were made obligatory during life in Medina. Then change of Qibla took place in second year of Hijrah, that Muslims used to face Masjid Aqsa in Jerusalem during prayers and continued to do so in Medina too. When during Asr prayers at mosque, Prophet was ordered to face the direction of Kaaba. And Quran says, we see the turning of your face for guidance to the heavens. Now shall we turn you to a Qibla that shall please you. Turn then your face in the direction of sacred mosque. So Nabi Kareem always wanted to have Makkah Mukarramah, or to have Kaaba as the Qibla. Uh, while we offer a namaz, or while we offer prayers, Nabi Karim wanted Kaaba to be the Qibla. But if before Makkah Mukarramah, or before Kaaba being the Qibla, Jerusalem or Masjid Aqsa was our Qibla. So this was the wish, this was the desire of Nabi Kareem, which was accepted by Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. And when one time he was leading these prayers, so this revelation came to him, and he suddenly changed his Qibla from Masjid Aqsa to Makkah Mukarramah, and then 10 of his companions also did the same, while they were during the, like, they were in the middle of prayers, and they turned themselves in the direction of Nabi Kareem. And if you focus a bit on the khutbah that happens on Jummah or during the Friday prayers, there's this khutbah that takes place, and the Imam of the masjid, he out loud says the name of those 10 blessed companions who followed Nabi Kareem, and they also changed their Qibla during the prayer. So we'll study about them in First Islamic Community, which is a chapter which will come right after this chapter, inshallah, next week. So this was the significance, and that those companions of Nabi Kareem, they were promised to enter Jannat. And those are those are Ashra Mubashra. They are the 10 best companions who have already been promised Jannat or paradise. Okay, then Battle of Badr. So now comes the first battle in the Islamic history, and there were a few causes of Battle of Badr. So this is a very important question. This comes for entire Denmark. So we need to study its causes, then what events, and then what impact did it leave. So causes were that Prophet at Medina dealt with Quraysh from Makkah. Jews who began to break treaties with Muslims, and hypocrites who were working against Muslims. Number one, the Prophet had to deal with so many people: Quraysh from Mecca, Jews from Medina, and hypocrites who were working against Muslims. He had to deal with three major enemies of Islam. The Quraysh of Mecca asked people of Medina Tayyibah to hand over Nabi Kareem and immigrants to them or kill them, but people of Medina refused to do so. Moreover, Abu Sufyan, a rich leader of Quraysh, was coming back from Syria carrying merchandise. He asked Quraysh to send an armed expedition to escort him safely, as he didn't want Muslims to interfere. When he reached back safely to Makkah, he asked army to return back, but they wanted to advance towards Madina Tayyibah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave command to fight in second year of Hijrat by saying, fight in the cause of Allah those who fight you. So these were the causes that led to Battle of Badr, that a major caravan led by Abu Sufyan was coming back from Syria, and Abu Sufyan asked people of Makkah to escort him safely, because Medina comes in between in the route where he was traveling, so he didn't want his merchandise to be looted by the Muslims. So he asked people of Makkah to escort him safely. And when he reached Makkah Mukarramah safely, he asked all those people who went to escort him safely, he asked those to come back, but they had evil intentions. They wanted to fight Muslims, and eventually, when they wanted to fight Muslims, Allah Ta'ala also gave command to Muslims that fight in the cause of Allah, those who fight you. Then the events that took place, that Holy Prophet called Muslims to take steps, so Muhajirin and Ansars came together and formed an army of 313 Muslims with few camels. Quraysh, with an army of 1,000, arrived at Badr first and occupied the important positions. They had the best warriors and arms. The Muslims were relatively in a weaker position and had no supply of water. So Prophet supplicated to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help Muslims against the unbelievers. The supplication was accepted by Allah in the following words: that remember you implored the assistance of your Lord, and he answered you, I will assist you with the thousands of angels, ranks on ranks. There was also a rain by which Muslims were delighted, after which the battle started. Prophet prayed, O Allah, if this small band of men perish, there will be no one alive to worship you, and your faith will be destroyed forever. So these were the events. And then eventually Allah Ta'ala, since He promised that He'll help Muslims, because Muslims were at a very weak morale, since they were only 313, they were not well equipped. While the Quraysh, they had more men, they were well equipped, they had good positions, they had access to water, while Muslims did not have any of these things. So they were at low morale, and Nabi Karim supplicated to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that if these small men, yani there were 313 Muslims, right? So if these men they'll fight, and if they die during the battle, then there will be no one left to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because we all know that Nabi Karim is the last prophet and no other prophet is going to come after him to preach. Right, so this was the supplication made by Nabi Karim to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah Ta'ala accepted his supplication and promised him to send help during the battle by sending angels. So Allah Ta'ala granted victory to Muslims, and 70 Quraysh were killed, including Abu Jahl, while 70 of them were taken as prisoners. Only 14 Muslims embraced martyrdom, and the captives were treated with mercy, as poor and old were freed without ransom, and those who could read or write were given the duty to teach 10 Muslims. So this is eventually how Muslims were given victory. And you need to remember that 70 men from Quraysh, they died, and 70 were taken as prisoners, while only 14 Muslims they embraced martyrdom out of 313. It was the first battle fought for the cause of Islam with such a small army, and established stronger image of Muslims. It strengthened the hearts of believers, and they gained confidence. But on the other hand, Quraysh wanted to take revenge, as they felt that their prestige got damaged after losing at Battle of Badr. So eventually, Muslims established a very good position, as it was their first battle and they won their first battle, while Quraysh felt that their prestige has been destroyed and they wanted to take strong revenge on Muslims. Then Banu Kanuqa was the first tribe of Jews to break the treaty signed with Muslims, which was signed in the first year of Hijrah, as they were working against Muslims. So Prophet took action against them, and they were asked to leave Madinah Tayyibah. So Banu Kanuka, you need to remember that right after Battle of Badr, Banu Kanuka was the first tribe among Jews that was asked to leave Madinah Tayyibah as they were working against the Muslims. Then in third year of Hijrat, only Battle of Uhud took place, and this is like the second battle in the Islamic history, Battle of Uhud. So the causes of Battle of Uhud were that Quraysh considered rise of Medina as a threat for themselves, as after Battle of Badr, the importance of Medina increased. Furthermore, they wanted to take revenge of their defeat in Battle of Badr. Also Banu Nazir. So now after Kanuka, Banu Nazir, the Jewish tribe, instigated Quraysh to fight against Muslims and promised help to Quraysh against Muslims. So this Banu Nazir, they were living in Medina Tayyibah, and yet they were supporting Quraysh of Makkah Mukarramah, and they said that they'll help them. They'll help Quraysh against Muslims. So a strong army was raised to wipe out Muslims during Battle of Uhud. Then the events of Battle of Uhud were that Quraysh raised an army of 3,000 men, while Prophet marched with an army of 1,000 men, out of whom 300, yani Prophet had this army of 1,000 men. But during when they were making this journey for Battle of Uhud, out of 1,300 men left, as Abdullah bin Ubay, who was a leader of hypocrites, they claimed that Prophet did not agree to the suggestion to fight from inside of the city. So Abdullah bin Ubay, since he was a hypocrite, he was a leader of hypocrites, he took 300 men from this 1,000 army by claiming that Nabi Karim did not agree to his suggestion. Then Muslim majority wanted to fight outside the city, but Prophet did not want that. However, he listened to the majority. So Nabi Kareem did not want to, he did not had this intention to go out of Medina Tayyibah and to launch this battle of Ohad. He wanted to stay inside Medina Tayyibah, but the majority of Muslims, they wanted to fight outside the city. So eventually Nabi Karim did not impose his decision, rather he accepted to what majority of the Muslims were saying. Both armies reached Ohad. Prophet posted 50 archers to protect the pass of mountain in case enemy army attacks from behind. So this is a very strong event, okay? Because eventually now the story will be built on this topic. That number one, the Muslims did not accept to the suggestion of Nabi Karim in the first place. Then in the second place, this happened that Nabi Karim strongly asked 50 archers to protect the mountain from backside, and he gave them a strict instruction that they should not leave their post from behind. Initially, when the battle started, Muslims were organized, they fought very bravely, and they killed many Quraysh warriors, and the enemy army started to leave, leaving great spoils of war. When archers saw this, they left their post, and Khalid bin Walid, the enemy, had returned back from behind to attack. So Nabi Karim instructed those men who were posted at behind side of the mountain. They were strongly given this instruction that they'll not leave their post. But when they saw that now the army of enemy, they are leaving, they're flying away, and they're leaving great spoils of war, they left their place. They disregarded the command of Nabi Karim. They left their place and they went to collect spoils of war. And when the enemy army saw this, now that those people who were at the backside of the mountain, they have left, they came back from behind to attack, and this confused the Muslims, and Prophet was wounded in the head and face. Also, there was a rumor that Prophet had been killed, which demoralized Muslims. But when he stood firmly and Muslims saw their leader, they rejoined the battle. So eventually, this rumor was spread that Nabi Karim has been killed during Battle of Ohad. So Muslims were demoralized, and they lost the hope. And eventually, when they saw Nabi Karim again, they were moralized again, and they started to fight. But eventually, we lost this battle. The battle resulted in 70 Muslims martyrdom, and only 30 men from enemy side were killed. Hinda, slave, killed Prophet's uncle Hamza, and Hinda chewed his liver as she wanted to take revenge of her father's death, Utbah, who was killed in Battle of Badr. In this battle, Muslim ladies were also present. Quran says the following about this battle: those of you who turned back on the day the two hosts met, it was Satan who caused them to fail. Meaning that when Nabi Karim instructed them not to leave, they left their positions, they disregarded the command of Nabi Karim, and they went to collect the spoils of war. And eventually, when this rumor spread that Nabi Karim has been killed, they should not have, they should not have, what do I say? They should not have disregarded, and they should have protected Islam, because eventually, when Nabi Karim is not there, then it is our responsibility to propagate Islam. So, the Muslims were demoralized when this rumor got spread, and then eventually we lost this battle. So the impact, the defeat of Muslims made it clear that victory does not only belong to them, and Allah will only support them if they'll support His cause. So the Muslims who left their post, who were responsible to stand behind the mountain, they fell for those spoils of war. They wanted to see what is left for them. So Allah Ta'ala will only support us when we'll support His cause. And what is His cause? That we need to spread Islam, and that we need to stay faithful to Islam. And we should not engage ourselves in gathering worldly things, right? So Abdullah bin Ubay also withdrew 300 men just because he thought his idea was humiliated, but failed to realize that Prophet wanted the same, but went with majority. So Abdullah bin Ubay, he considered himself superior to Nabi Karim, Nauzubillah, right? Because Nabi Karim also wanted to fight he wanted to fight by staying inside Madina Tayyibah, but eventually he agreed to what majority had to say. But Abdullah bin Ubay, he had such huge ego problems that he left the battle, and he took 300 men with him. So Muslims did not obey the instructions of Prophet, and this weakness became strength of enemies. So this is exactly what is happening to us, that if we'll not follow the commandments of Islam, if we'll not follow the commandments of Nabi Karim, then eventually we'll be at a vulnerable position, and enemies will get this chance to attack us. It was important for Muslims to realize that they were fighting for their faith and not just for defending Nabi Karim, because you see how they were demoralized upon hearing the fact that Nabi Karim has been killed. This battle became a source to unveil hypocrites. So eventually, we got to know about the hypocrites, and that they were planning and plotting against Nabi Karim. Then eventually, in fourth year of Hijrat, Banu Nazir, who promised support to Quraysh of Makkah, they plotted murder of Prophet and wanted to rise against Muslims. So Prophet sent them a message to leave Medina within 10 days, but they shut themselves in fortresses. So Prophet and his army laid siege to their forts, after which Jews surrendered, and they were also exiled from Medina Tayyaba. So in fourth year of Hijrah, these Jews of Banu Nazir, they wanted to kill Nabi Karim. And when Nabi Karim went with the army, they shut themselves in the forts. And eventually, Muslim army laid siege to their forts, and after which Jews surrendered, and they were asked to leave Madinah Tayyibah. So first, Banu Kanuka left, now Banu Nazir has left. Then in fifth year of Hijrat, we have Battle of Trent and Banu Qurayza. So I'm taking 10 minutes namaz break. I'll open the classroom at 7:45, and then we'll do fifth year of Hijrat. All right.